Welcome back to the CCA California podcast. Good to be with you finally after almost, Tonie, a month, I think.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You know what's crazy, Chris? Our schedule. And no one believes us. No one believes us.
Yeah.
But every day there's something going on.
Every day.
And every time we knock 2 things off our list, 20 things just show up.
It's like whack-a-mole. Kind of.
Again, and I will bring this up. This was not in the job description when I got brought on.
Hey, you were the one who said yes.
I did. I don't regret it.
How have you been?
Busy.
Busy?
Got a little bit of fishing in. You have not. I know that for sure. Which
Yep.
you get to go fishing this week.
I get to go fishing. Yeah.
You get to go fishing.
I'm so excited about it.
Yeah,
So excited.
Chris is going on Tonie Ray's trip.
Yep. I know a couple months ago we had our good friend Ray Sharifi on to talk about Tonie Reyes. Finally, that trip is coming, and I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. It'll be fun.
Super, super jealous.
Yeah.
I'll be on a trip tonight. I'll be filling in.
Nice.
And then we've got a couple other. I am trip heavy for this month.
Yeah, you have the Searcher trip
I have
too.
the gals trip on the Searcher, the 19th to the 22nd. There are spots available. I think there's 3 or 4 spots available. So any of you ladies out there, hop on. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, if you're a lady, hop on, fish with Tonie and a whole bunch of other gals. Well, Tonie, I am super stoked for today's episode. We have a great friend of ours, Mr. Brian Nguyen from Milestone.
Milestone Health and Life.
That's
more
what it is.
importantly,
Yeah.
cigar aficionado.
Yes. Brian, how are you, man?
I'm doing well. Not as busy as you guys, it seems, on the road, but I'm doing really well. Yeah.
We haven't seen you since, I think, March, back in Bakersfield.
Was that March?
Has it been that long?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Things
unbelievable.
things have been good. And keeping busy in my full-time work, but even busier in my not so full-time work, my labor of love. And I got a lot going on this year and accomplished quite a bit earlier in the year. And thank you guys for that opportunity up in the Kern County area there, and for everything that you do. Of course, try to get that out of the way. I know you guys are traveling hard and really, really trying to spread the word. So kudos to you guys. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that for sure. Well, let's kind of get into it, Brian. I know you've been on the podcast before. It's been a while, but just briefly kind of go back into how you got to where you're at, your background. I know you've got a completely diverse background, both inside and outside the fishing industry, but tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I think to some of the newer people who follow me, one of the things that they may not know, and I was going to work on, I swear to you, like a video on this bio about me, but I don't really think I'm that special. As I said, it is a labor of love, but it does come from a love for the industry that I was in for over, 23 years, I think.
Yeah.
And I started kind of as it was a dream for me. I started as a kid inside the independent tackle shops and moved into some of the regional chain stores, and then to a distributor, and ultimately working as a manufacturer's rep for a number of companies, and worked on a lot of different projects, and a few of them that kind of set the tone, if you will, for particular types of reels and such, in the marketplace. And I loved every minute of it, but as with any good ride, it did have to come to an end. And not for any other reason other than, it's kind of when you start a family, that travel it gets a little tough. So I always tell people I have to grow up and get a real job. Yeah, but that's what
my mom tells me every day.
Right. But yeah, that was 23 years of sales, marketing, product development, pioneering, if you will, going out into the marketplace and learning as much as we could about product from the end users, from the tackle shops. And it was one of the best times of my life. And, whenever I'm asked, do I miss it? And I say, absolutely. The only thing I don't miss is the travel, the overnight travel. And when the parking attendant at LAX kind of knows you, not necessarily by name, but they recognize you, it's a lot of travel. You guys are talking about, not being able to fish much. Isn't that the old line, right? You guys are in the fishing industry. You must get to fish all the time. Yeah, negatory.
Yeah. It's the most common misconception for sure about our jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get that, man. I mean, with our schedules, with our traveling and all that, I mean, even if You're right. It's absolutely a labor of love to where, we love doing what we do. Does it, we pay a price in many different ways, but it just has to be a labor of love.
Yeah, it is. And sometimes you'll get that attaboy, and sometimes you got to give it to yourself. And that's kind of what that's what separates us from calling it a labor of love as opposed to something that's just really horrible, right? Yeah. So. Yeah, that's kind of what I pride myself on, and I give myself a lot of attaboys because nobody, quite frankly, cares.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly care, Brian. I mean, the wealth of knowledge that you have, it's not just in one specific area. It's such a broad spectrum of it. I mean, everything that you have to give to people, whether they want it or not, there's so much value in what you have to share because you've lived it, you've experienced it, you were in the industry, you are living it now still.
Yeah, I appreciate that. There's little subtleties, little things here and there that actually make quite an impact on the angling community. If folks follow me on Instagram, the Cigar Aficionado, which I'm sure will be posted up at some point. But if you follow me on my social media, you'll see the little things that little articles that I'll put up. And it's not expert advice because I'm not an expert. But what it is just maybe a little bit of insight as to how the tackle manufacturers think and what it is that they do when they put out a product. And maybe, just maybe, there might be things that we can do to make them even better. The most recent one that I got such positive attention on, and it had such a positive impact on the angling community or the SoCal sport boat fishermen was talking about cutting jig sticks. There's that word, cutting a jig stick down. Well, you say that on the forums and people get freaked out. Sacrilege. How dare you? Why would you do something like that? Well, it wasn't an article to suggest people start going to take hacksaws to their jig sticks, but it was really for them to understand why it's actually done and the result that we get. And that one, it generated a lot of really good replies to it and good conversation, healthy conversation among people who all share the same passion, which is going out and catching one more fish than the guy next to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're I guess famous, or your expertise is in jigging. There's all kinds of different jigging nowadays to where it's speed jigging, flat falls back in the day and all that. In your mind or in your perspective, how is that involved between when jigging first became the thing up until today? How's it kind of evolved?
Well, I'll correct you on that. I'm not an expert. I've just been doing it a long time, so I'm kind of like that. I'm just like that cheese in your fridge that won't go away. It just stays,
That's a good one.
I'll tell you, this was back in 2005, and I was working with Shimano at that time as the sales rep, and we had introduced Butterfly. And Butterfly is essentially what we're seeing today. Now, we called it something different, but it is still, as far as the motions are concerned, it's not slow pitch jigging. It's still that it's a little bit maybe tapered down from true speed jigging, but it is a fast vertical jigging deal. And when we did that, we were the first. We didn't invent it, but we were the first to heavily market and promote that style of fishing here out west. Obviously, in the east they were doing some, but we were really the first to take that and run with it. And at that time, it was completely new. I mean, take a look. People were looking at our rods. The Travala rods, if you remember those. It was thin as bass rods, or largemouth bass rods, and people were just kind of freaked out. But what they soon realized, what we didn't have then is what we have now, which is a trophy species that is willing to eat it. Mm-hmm. It's the species that's on everybody's, Facebook avatar profile picture and so on, right? So we have that now. But what people didn't know was, back in that time, for locally anyway, we were using those setups in 2005, fishing like the squid grounds for yellows, and it was deadly on them. I mean, but you have to kind of understand the negative, or some of the things that people were questioning, they looked at as kind of weird. Why hooks on top? We don't get it. Mm-hmm. What are you guys doing? Why do you, or real skinny rods, and they bend all the way down to the foregrip. So what's the deal with that? You don't get any power off of them. And so we kind of fast forward to today, how it's evolved. It didn't necessarily, I think obviously the equipment has gotten a little better. The componentry has gotten better, and we have reels that have evolved and gotten better for that purpose, and many others. But what it's come down to really is that we have a species right now that is a willing biter of this method. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun, and I think it takes some of that, nighttime. We'll just use nighttime as an example on jigging bluefin. It does kind of get a little mundane after a little bit. I mean, you go out and it may not be as exciting when they don't bite, right? I mean, obviously, when it's full speed, we'll take it. Yeah. And they're going, just ape shit batch. They're just going crazy. They're just going crazy and biting everything that gets in front of them. But when they don't, that vertical jigging now kind of sets itself apart, and it allows you to be able to get a bite when you otherwise are going to be working extra hard on any other setup, of course, being done right. So that's kind of where we're at now. And because of that, it's opened the door now for people to kind of take a look at other forms of vertical jigging. That slow pitch jigging is starting to become a thing, for the guys fishing rockfish and things like that. And I know like Joey from Tatty, he's out catching sea bass on it. And so there are, I always said that slow pitch, I think, catches more variety of fish. It just happens to be that the speed jigging, it gets that one that you can take a nice picture with. Yeah. But that's kind of where it's evolved. It's been around a long time. Like I said, since we did it in 2005 out here, and it's gone kind of through. It's just kind of stayed stable until recently, where we've gotten that spike and there's the interest level is high, but there are still two things that the general public is concerned about. And I will still continue to go out and teach those things when it comes to jigging for bluefin. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong either. It's just another opinion. That's the great thing about fishing, is that we should open ourselves to listening to other people's views on things, and we start to compile everything together, and we come to our own conclusion. But I tell people I know for a fact, the two major concerns, because I get asked all the time. Number one is, what the heck happens when you guys connect to a real one? Yeah. Right? Yeah. And the second one is, boy, that looks like it's a pain in the keister, this whole mechanical jigging portion of it. Well, I have workshops for fishing clubs that I do specifically on how I show people how I recommend and fight fish on a jigging rod. But even so, with that fighting style that I show, it is applicable to just about anything else in the saltwater world when we're dealing with larger game fish. And when I show people that method, it's a little different. And I like sometimes to say it's too cool to be tactical. So they are not cool enough to be tactical. People look at it and they're like, nah, it doesn't look right, but I don't, I'm not here for the looks. I don't want to experience any pain after I'm done fighting a fish, and I don't want to wear myself out. I am just as calm, and there's no strain on my body, no strain on me. And that's the reason why I teach the method that I use anyway. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One of those methods being, and this is something that I've always seen it on social media and being done and all that, but I really have never done it myself, which is pointing the rod down at the water.
Yes. Well, we're not necessarily pointing it at the water.
Well, pointing it down, not even having too much of a bend in the rod at all.
Yeah, we're pointing the rod. I guess if we had to get really technical on that, we're pointing the rod tip at the nose of the fish. Mm-hmm. So when we do that, it changes the angle of which that fish comes in. I had a fun conversation with Dave Pfeiffer at the PCS show, and we were talking about popper fishing. And I know a couple years back, a couple years ago, he got some pretty big ones on the popper on his boat. And we were just talking about changing the angle of which that fish comes into the boat. Actually gets him to come in a lot easier. By pointing the rod tip at the fish, it does a number of things. I think that there's a few things that people don't understand what's happening. And I put out, there was a video that I did with Phil Friedman of Friedman Adventures, and it was talking about drag. I have this saying that I use in my seminars. I call it the effect of drag versus effective drag. And it's not so much, I think we are so dialed into what the scale says when we're setting drags, we forget it's not what the scale says that matters. It's what the fish feels at their end. So when we bend the rod, people, to set drags, people have been saying for years to put their line through the guides and the rod and then pull against the scale. Well, it gives you what I believe to be a false reading, because the bending of the rod and the line stretch, once you take all those things out, those things actually consume a good chunk of drag. And if we kind of go by that theory of mine, well, not so much a theory, and I've proven it, that it's not about what the scale says, about what the fish feels. So when you point the rod at that fish, there is nothing that's consuming that drag. The only thing you have is the stretch in the line, and they feel every bit of it, right? So now somebody will say, well, Brian, that's totally untrue. You should be setting the drag. So then I'll say, okay, it may very well not be true, and I'm not disagreeing with you. But if when you hook to the bottom on a sport boat, and you've been trying valiantly to break it off, and you call for a crew member to do it, what do? Put the drag in full and point the rod at the fish. I said, there you go.
That's true. That's true.
Guilty of that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, valid, Tony.
Oh, everything that the cameras probably aren't picking it up, but I'm over here just shaking my head like a bobblehead, because it's all true. And like I said before, whether people want to believe it or not, that's up to them. But there's absolute truth.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a reason why deckhands do it.
Absolutely, and that's why also, I'll ask in my seminars, I'll say, how many people have ever been in a 2-fish tangle, and some people will raise their hand, and then I'll throw a little kicker in there. I says, how many people have caused 2-fish tangles? Don't lie. But I better see everyone's hands up. Yeah. I ever noticed, like Tony, you were on the boats for a while. Yeah, you got 2 rods, people are in a tangle. How is it that a guy or gal is huffing and puffing, trying to keep that 45-degree bend in the rod? You grab it with one hand and point it at the fish, and you've got the other rod we're pointing it at them. Yeah. So it's much easier to hang on to. You'd be surprised the obscene amount of drag pressure you can put on it. The most recent, the South Bay Anglers Club, I did a workshop there on fighting fish with jigging rods. I think I had over 40 people come on a Wednesday, which was awesome. I had a gentleman, I think he was 82 years young, and we had him set up on one of my jigging setups. And I bring a scale, and I have it really all dialed in for this particular purpose. And I crimp a loop in it and everything. And I had him pull against my reel, and he said at 26 pounds of drag, he didn't feel anything. Well, I says, okay, let's see what happens when we push it into full. And he got kind of scared at first. I've got a bad back. I says, I get it. But if we did everything that I got trying to body alignment and things like that, so I pulled against it at, I think he had 34, and he didn't even flinch. So if you think about it in those terms, it's again the effect of drag versus effective drag. It's a big deal. I have this thing. People set their drags with a scale. I've proven this one. When they pull real slow against it, that's not the rate that the fish runs, right? And when you do that, believe it or not, you get a different reading off of your scale. When I set it, I recommend people try to get to the same speed as that game fish is going to run. So you're going to have to definitely go a little faster, because what you'll notice is that when you go fast, you're 25 pounds. If you go fast at 25, you go slow, you'll see that you're down, 22, 21? So now when you go, imagine the guy now, he's going slow, and he goes, yeah, it's at 25. When the reality is that you're probably somewhere in that 30 realm when the fish runs. So this is kind of one of those things that people don't necessarily think about, but it's definitely those are the little things that my articles, people who are willing to read through anything. I don't have any Twitter answers, that's for sure. As you guys can tell, I apologize.
But body mechanics too plays such a heavy role, if you will, especially when you're fighting that grade fish on those rods, you know, and the number of people I've seen with their railroad setups, and they get gassed after 10 minutes. Yep. Right? I'm not the biggest person, if you guys didn't know. So, there were certain things that I had to do to adjust my points of leverage and just adjusting little things in my body and how I'm angling the rod with the fish and how you're trying to predict where the fish is going to go before
Yeah.
it's already been. So you get it away from, you know, your prop or the anchor line or whatever. And there's little things like that if every angler had some kind of basis, the landing ratio would be so much higher.
Yeah,
much
and it's
higher.
not just limited to the jigging rods. I use it on everything. On surface iron rod, there is no rod too tall for me. I don't look at like 10-footer. Wow, yowza. No, I fight them the same way. But one of the things that the West Coast angler is adapt to or has done their entire lives is when we fish a right-handed conventional reel. Well, I'm sorry for you lefties, but I'm sure you'll modify it your way.
Yeah.
But we fish our right-handed conventional reels, and what do? We tuck it under our left arm. And that's very common. Well, the way that I teach it is we go under our right arm. And people go, no, it's not, it's just not comfortable. I said, you know, you have to try it first before you come to this conclusion. And just because there's not a lot of people to say, I'm good with being a maverick. So if it doesn't look cool, I'm fine with it so long as it's effective. I mean, if I could fight a fish without breaking a sweat with the rod tucked beneath my legs but backwards, I would do it. But when we keep it under the right left, we talk about body alignment. It's a big deal because as right-handed people, if I was to put a 25-pound dumbbell in front of you and ask you to pick it up, would you actually extend out, then pivot your wrist to pick it up, or would you compact your body to go and pick it up? We compact ourselves to get stronger. The left arm, I would say that's the extension arm, and that's where we extend. So if we want power, think about tug of war for a minute. If you had siblings or you just had, goof around buddies in school, you're pulling tug of war. You're right-handed. You don't go under your left arm and pivot to the left. You go under your right arm and you pull to the right. And our power is generated when I teach it from in the legs. It's not in the arms. You don't generate enough power up there. There's a reason why leg muscles are the hardest to develop for bodybuilders is because they get beat up every day, and they're going to need more punishment because they can handle it.
That's so funny that you mentioned that because all my life I was always taught to have the rod underneath my right arm, and I've always noticed like a lot of other people have them under the left. And I've always thought, man, am I missing something or whatnot? Yeah, I was just taught that way, and I'm not really one to look at other people and be worried about what I'm doing. I'm concerned with myself, but I've always wondered like, am I missing something having it under my left arm as opposed to my right? But you saying that makes me feel better. Yeah,
we'll continue the workshop series with all the clubs, and I do things on my own. But that's one of the topics that I did. I did one a couple years ago, and guys, and my workshops change, and it evolves. The workshop that I did last year on the same subject is completely different now because things changed, right? So, but the one workshop that I did on fighting fish, I did actually at somewhere in Long Beach at a public park on fighting fish with jigging rods, and it was a big deal. The people that came out, they were sending me messages about how effective it was, and it didn't. That's where I got it from. The guy goes, "Well, it doesn't look cool." Because we're not straining in our faces. Maybe we're not like, but it
Why
is
strain
effective
when you don't have to?
Yeah. So, but that's kind of what I do. I'm kind of like Kane from Kung Fu. I drive around and I try to share with people what I know, and the reality is I learn more from them than they do from me. I go and I'll present something, and then I'll start hearing things. And I say, you know what, I might use that on the next one.
Try that.
Yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
When it comes to the jigs, there's so many different options between flat falls way back when to, even like slow pitch jigs. And they're tiny, like little, like, I don't know, like 20 gram, little things now.
Yeah.
And at the ICAST show, we saw something that was, what was that big one? Do you remember what it was? It was like 11 ounces or something.
It was something obscene.
It was like that long and about that thick. It was like almost like the most obvious paperweight you've ever seen. But they've changed so much, and there's so many different variety of jigs now. How does one even try to dabble into what jig is right for what use or whatnot?
Well, maybe you can get into you guys remember Norm Kagawa on the Shogun? He used to have the saying on the boat, if your tackle box is full, you brought too much tackle. Obviously you can see now, you guys are walking on boats with the jig carriers and things like that. But the reality is that you have, what you're trying to prepare for is current, size profile, or size, and then the sink rate of the jig. So if you have those things covered, and then you keep in mind that a really good rule of thumb is 1 gram for every foot of depth that fish is at, right? So if we're fishing that bluefin, it's always anywhere from 40 to 60 fathoms. Obviously, there's some trips where it goes a little bit deeper than that, and then there's some trips where they're shallower than that. But that's where you kind of take that's a good start right there. 1 foot for every fathom, 1 gram for every fathom, and then those 3 types of profiles in particular at night. You're seeing now there are some trips where they eat the Eddie bomb really well, a really small profile, the West Coast Jiggers HD, which if you can't keep in stock right
Killer
now.
jig.
That's what when they're keying in on something small, but they want it, that's what I use. But then you have the Daiwa SK. It has its resurgences, man. I mean, you go through a couple of weeks or months even where you don't know, well, I haven't caught an SK fish in a long while. And all of a sudden, my friend Randy Dotamoto got a 254, I think it was, on the American Angler two trips ago on the Salas trip, 5-day, on an SK jig. Oh, here we go. Everybody's looking for an SK jig, right? But those, that's for the bluefin anyway. Those are that's what I keep in mind. So I look at 1 gram for every foot. And then the 3 profiles, smaller profile, something that sinks fast, or something that has flutter. And, you can go with a box full of every which jig. I mean, I can't drop 50 jigs on a 2.5-day trip. You go on with confidence and away you go. But, I said something. I did this at the PCS show, the Jigging 101, and I was so honored to be part of a panel with some absolute studs when it comes to vertical jigging. I'm not a little guy, but it made me feel really small to be up there with those guys. Benny Ortiz, George Polo from Jig Pro, and of course my good friend, our good friend Tony James Kikawa. And there was something I said. We walk on a sport boat. I said, you walk on as friends, but walk onto the boat as friends, but you walk around the boat as spies. You take, right? You done it, right? Ask the crewman. Maybe the guy came off a trip just right now and he's going on a re-ride. You don't know. Yeah. Ask him what was working, and if he tells you they're slaying him on such and such, well then you know what? It may benefit you to have one of those tied on. Yeah. So.
That's a good one. Walk in as friends and.
Walk around as spies. Yeah, there's a lot of cigar aficionado-isms that I throw out whenever I'm doing a workshop, and people are starting to become used to it now. I'm going to have to come up with new material soon here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. I know the cigar aficionado thing, that has really taken off amongst the fishing industry, and I'm sure probably outside too. But what's that all about and all that? Unless it's like a secret club that you can't talk about.
It is absolutely not a secret club. This was the industry that I was in for 23, 24 years, somewhere in between that. And I loved it. It's all I knew. It's when I started out when I was young, and that was it. As I said, I had to grow up and get a real job. But my heart has always been here. And I wanted to do something to give back to the community. I knew, however, that paying for information or would open you up. It opens you up to a lot of different negative connotations. But what I understood was, I don't mind if you pay for something, but that's not my business. See, my business, I'm in the Medicare sector. So it's not, I don't, that's why I know my place, I know my role, and it's not tackle sales. What it is helping anglers, helping the community. I'm not an expert in anything. What I do offer, however, is experienced opinions on a number of different topics that today's angler could use and be very effective with out on the water. And that's what I do. I don't charge anything. I don't charge for what I do because, again, it's not the business that I'm in. And if you are in that business, hey, more power, go for it. But I absolutely love meeting new people, new anglers, talking to them. They have no idea whenever I go into a tackle shop and they recognize me. When one person recognized me anyway, I want to like just hug them. You know, I don't know if that's right these days, but I do. It's a very special feeling. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy public speaking. I know it's not necessarily for everyone. Doesn't mean I'm an expert at it, but you know what it is I learn something new every single time. What I've done these days, I mean, if I tell you my talk is 40 minutes, I've kept it to 40 minutes. I told you, there's no Twitter answers that come from me, but we get that. But I absolutely love serving the sport fishing community here in Southern California. And I have car and will travel. I will go, I love talking to fishing clubs. I helped retailers who want to have a better understanding, because I'm more than right now. The jigging thing for the last, say, year and a half has been kind of the thing. I'm more than that, because I also have workshops that I do. A very popular one, I call it Operation Offshore Topwater, and it's to give people an understanding of how to actually use poppers on sport boats, because everybody has them. I know this for a fact because I walk around PCS and the Hull show, and the buy 5 get 5 free. Yeah. I see the bags full. Yeah. But I don't see that many anglers throwing them. And I think that what it comes down to is that nobody has told anyone that it's okay to use whatever it is that you have. Yeah. You don't need the $1,000 spinner and the $800 imported rod to do this. But you just have to understand what its limitations are, of course. So I go out and I teach people that. I will show them what I find to be ideal for me, but I also let them know, guys, it's okay. You like your Lexa 300, rock on. Just as if one nice things about popper fishing, I always tell people, you get to decide what you cast to. If the Lexa 300 is what you have and they're straight 150 pounders busted on the surface, that may not be the right time. But if it's a kelp patty yellowfin, the schoolies, game on all day long. Have fun. Have a day at it, So that's, there's another, one of the workshops I do. We have several of them, but.
I'd be curious to hear that one. Because Tony knows this. Popper fishing for yellowfin, my favorite kind of fishing. Outside of saltwater bass, but it's so much fun. And you're absolutely right, I don't have a spinning rod. I don't fish spinning rods. No. But I have my bait casters, my Lexa 300 or 400 or the Kuma 400 or whatever, and it works just as well. Yeah. You just have to learn the adaptation to it. Yeah.
Now wait till you come to one of the workshops where I teach people how to fight big fish on spinning gear.
Oh God.
That's it. Oh God, spinners. Oh no. But when they see it,
terrible.
Yeah. When they see it, that's when they go, dude. There might be something
here.
That's
how they fight fish in Australia, New Zealand, East Coast. That's all they fish.
Well, let me tell you, they can have that. I don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to people on the sport boats, I mean, Brian, you just said it. The amount of times we see people with their whole tackle box filled with the latest and greatest, with tackle that's 30 years old, and they bring everything on the boat, but maybe they're only fly lining the whole time.
Yeah.
Do you think the reluctance in using a surface iron, at the Coronados, or a popper when you see yellowfin that are foaming, do you think that reluctance is a lack of education? I don't really know what to do in this situation, but I have everything? Or do you think it's confidence, an issue of confidence, where they feel like, oh, well, there's too many people here, I don't have enough practice, maybe I shouldn't do it? Where do you think that line gets?
Myself.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that.
Yeah. I think it's 100% confidence. I'll be honest with you. How many people do you know that won't go fishing alone on a sport boat? Hey, True. Tony, you want to go tomorrow? Oh, okay. Well, if you aren't going to go, then I'm not going to go either. It's a real deal. Maybe not in our circle, because we hang with fishermen, right? But in the 95% circle, that is a real thing. Now, you said about confidence. Now, let's just say you're on a full day out of San Diego, which you're quite familiar with, and Danny Wade's on the boat, Or you got maybe Danny Wade and 2 other guys from that inside sport fishing video, the Jake Chuckers ball. They're up on the bow. Do you really, just think about it, if you just got your brand new, you got one of them really pretty tennies from UC, all beautiful, wrapped beautifully, walk up there and you got these guys, the moment you enter their world, they just kind of look at you. It's not in a mean way, it's just sizing you up a little bit. It is definitely scary. And it's not even, forget about messing up in front of them. How about just tangling them up?
Yeah.
The first tangle you get involved with them, that's to be the last of the trip. You're pretty much done. But what I try to do is I want to teach people that these things are not, they're not worthy of you running away from. You use them as to educate yourself. I get questions all the time. Well, not all the time, but one thing about that we know that guy, right? You don't want to be on a boat with that guy. Well, I don't care. I have no control over that because that guy has every right to go online and buy a ticket as much as I do. So he goes on a boat, and there he is. So I can be upset the entire trip, be disappointed and humbug and poo-poo the entire trip because of that guy, or I can learn to work around them, right?
Or learn from them.
Most
of the time, if you talk to someone like Danny Wade, they will talk anything you want to know. They'll tell you the reason, the history, the mechanics.
Yeah. But I mean, you get a guy, he's always tangling people up. You know what? Here's a chance for you to work on you. Yeah. Don't worry about him. You work on you. Get away from it.
Or watch him, what he's doing, and say, oh, that's what I don't want to do.
Yeah.
That's the issue that's causing all this.
Yeah. So that's why that's why one of the workshops that I do, I call it fly lining factuals. One of the things that we talk about is, I'm going to use a Frank LaPresti line here, and I use a lot of his lines too, but there's one thing that he says, you're not fishing, you're wishing. The whole pulling the line off of the reel. You see that a lot. And, here's one of the cigar aficionadoisms. I say, fortuitous outcomes reinforce bad habits. Okay? So just because in anger you got bid on it this way and you've had some success, look, there is an element of luck to fishing. And if we say that there isn't, we're fooling ourselves. So you may have gotten lucky, but, another thing I tell people, luck, it has an expiration date. It's not consistent. So if you're just pulling line off of your reel, I tell people that current does a pretty darn good job of pretending to be a sardine pulling line off of your reel. So these are the little subtleties, the nuances that I go through in these workshops that I do for the fishing clubs and in my articles that I write on my own social media. And I'm starting to become more active on the forums. And providing information where I can anyway. It's these types of things that I absolutely love doing. And again, I'm taking all the time in the world to come up with these things. And I pay attention to what's going on in the current marketplace. I pay attention to what's going on in our fishery so that I can maybe help somebody, or if I can help one person, it warms my heart, and I love it.
Brian, we've talked a lot about what you do, all the different hobbies and all that stuff. But one thing that I'm kind of wondering, why do you do what you do? Well, what's the whole reason behind all of what you do if you're not getting paid for it and all that stuff? Why?
I love helping people. I know that's rare. If I was lying to you, I'd start billing people for these things. I absolutely love it, and I want to promote sport fishing. I want people, I saw a meme a couple of years ago. It says the world needs more tackle boxes, not Xboxes. I'd love for people to go out and fish. I would love for people to just experience that, but experience it the right way. One of the jokes that we make, my son's first ever flight on our family vacation was first class. And he was 6 years old, 6. So then you start flying coach, and he goes, well, this kind of, what's going on here, right? We want everybody's experience to be positive. And, it's the catching is fun, but, learning is actually more fun. And then when you can do it yourself and catch when you're on your own. Now you've just made that person's entire experience.
Yeah.
Took my son out on his first overnight a couple weeks ago on the Amigo.
Nice.
I wanted to hook and hand a yellow to him. He's only 9. But I wanted to hook and hand a yellow. They were eating the dropper loop with like 60 and 80 pounds. So I don't know if 18 pounds of drag, was good. And that's that 30 to 40 pound grade.
It's a hell of a start.
I hooked and handed bass, barracuda, and bonita till his arm fell off, and he was having the time of his life. And even though he threw up, he got a little seasick in the bunk room. There's a difference, right? Being on deck and then going in the bunk room. He was fine on deck.
Yeah.
Get into the bunk room, and it was a little different for him. But one of the things that you asked why I did it, because he came back up and he said, "When are we going again?"
Nice.
Throwing up, this is a terrible feeling, right? If you've ever been seasick, I think I've been sick 4 times in my life. So I know it sucks.
Yeah.
So for him to come up and say that I did something right, I showed him things, and I didn't keep him in the dark. I wasn't, Harry, this is why I'm fishing this. You guys remember whams? I'm old school. I still fish nothing but whams. I'm like, this is why I fish this, and I'm trying to explain it to him. Explain it to him like a 4-year-old, even though he's 9, and they absolutely love it. Their eyes get wide open, and now they feel like they're part of something. Did he catch any fish on his own? No. Does he want to? Yeah.
Nice.
You're giving him the tools to put in his metaphorical toolbox for later.
Yeah, so a lot of parallels to fishing in life, right? It's really interesting because, again, letting that guy trouble you to a point where you don't want to fish anymore. If I'd showed my son that, what I'm simply teaching him then would be like, hey, if something is troubling, just run away. A lot of parallels to it. That's why I love it. That's what I live for.
Tonie, have you fished a whams before? No. Oh man, brought me back.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, I know you've got so many different, you've done so many different seminars for CCA, for other fishing clubs. You've got, tutorials, all that stuff all over the place. But you've got something very special coming up in August.
I got something really cool. It's a workshop that I am Joey Shimizu, who was a guest on here from Taddy Lures, and I are going to be doing a casting workshop, fly lining casting for bait fishing. One of the interesting things, so we got all the jigs and everything looks cool. You walk into a shop and like the jig wall is bigger now than the hook wall. But the fact is that Joey agrees with me on this, and Tonie, you might. But if you want to be a good jig fisherman, you kind of have to be an okay bait fisherman first, because what you're trying to do is mimic a bait, if I'm not mistaken. And I realized that it's really cool to hook one on a jig and so on and so forth. But you have to if you don't have the fundamentals down on fishing a bait, and one of the most important would be casting one. Then now how will you cast the surface iron? It's cool when that fish is a barracuda is up 15 feet away from the boat, but when you guys are at the Coronados and you're running and gunning, there is no 15 feet in front of the boat. You're going to have to make an accurate cast first, and if they're far, you'll have to make a long cast second.
Consistently too.
Right, and consistently. So where does that begin? Do you, as a beginner fisherman, go out with a 10-foot jig stick and start practicing? No. We have to learn first how to fly line a bait, because they parallel each other, right? We're using a pendular cast on live bait, and an efficient cast on the surface iron rod would also consist of a pendular cast, right? So this is that's why it was important to me to reach out to Joey, to ask him if he wanted to be a part of this, and he without even asking twice, he said, "Yep, I'm in." He didn't question anything because he understood how those two intersect. So we're gonna do this workshop. This is 100% free and we're opening it up to CCA members first. And I know you guys are gonna post it up. This is for CCA members first. It's Saturday, August 31st in the city of El Monte, which is in the San Gabriel Valley. 6 to 7 p.m. We will include your snacks and beverages as well. Remember, you don't pay anything. Now, here's the deal. I just said it's free, right? It's limited to 25 people. It's at an indoor batting cages, so we have height and we have length.
So
okay,
clever.
and everybody can, everybody will walk in. I'm part of the instruction that I'm going to post this to the public on next Friday, August 9th. But for now, for CCA, everybody walks in with their own 20 or 25 or 30 pound outfit, and we will be casting. That's all you'll need. Now, here's the kicker. I have done these events, many of these types of events in the past, and I always have a lot of interest. I personally, I know that if I said that I'd open it up to 100 people, that would be fun, and it would look cool in the pictures. But I can't teach, and I can't give 100 people my time in the course of an hour. So we have 20. It's limited to 25 people. And by doing that, we're really able to now focus our attention on you individually and kind of sharpen up your skills a little bit. But also, because of this, we don't charge. And in the past, we've had people no show on us. And when they do that, it's not that I don't take it personally. I get it. Life happens. But I do have a list of people that would have loved to have come. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing here is, here's the deal. If you want to get in, you can either reach out to me on my website, www.mhlis.com, and there's 2 banners that you'll see on my website. First one that says, ask me about Medicare being my full-time job. There's another one we just put up, and I'm not kidding you. It says, ask me about fishing. Click on those, and you can send me an email. What I'm going to ask of everyone who signs up is $20, okay? They give me $20. They'll pay it through Zelle. They'll pay it through Venmo, whatever they want to use. And here's the deal. They get it right back when they show up on Saturday, August 31st. So it is free. If there is a no-show, however, what happens to that $20? It gets donated to CCA, and your name will be put up in lights, the person who did not show, to show you that all positives here, okay? And it's going, of course, to a good cause. But for those who do come, you get it right back at the door.
Yep. And what we'll do is, as long as we can get the list of names, Brian, we'll send them a thank you letter as well, so they can... As a 501c3 organization, they can do what they want with it.
Yeah, there you go. Mm-hmm. So, I sent. I gave you guys the flyer to that, and that just again another string of this whole labor of love. All of us just enjoy doing this, and
for those of us on YouTube, that's the flyer right there.
Yeah,
right there. And we'll put this in the show notes as well. All the contact info. That's awesome. That's gonna be a fun event, man. For sure. I'm looking forward to it. I know Joey is looking forward to it. We're going to be meeting up probably a week before the event and just going over the details. But I've rented a platform because we're going to show overhead casting and we're going to go underhand casting, the underhand lob. Show that pendular, how to use the pendular or the pendulum in both techniques. And then it's really, I'm giving everything away here, but we're going to have spray bottles for everyone. That way, I can't cast dry line yet. I haven't figured that one out yet, but we're going to have that out there. We'll have all the baits. So again, all the people need to bring is an open mind, a good attitude, and a 25 or 30 pound outfit. I don't care what it is, but make sure it's fishing ready, except a hook. You don't need a hook. I have something that we will tie on for you. And away we go. We'll jam everything into an hour, but we promise that we will give you the one-on-one time as well as be able to answer your questions. And one other thing that I will try my best to do for everyone, and this has become a big deal for me, is using my phone or their phone. I'm going to use their phone and video them casting. And that way what we can do is start to show them, maybe your feet are in the wrong position. They're not pointed in the direction of the cast. They're pointed in the direction of the other angler. All these little things that we're going to do. It's going to be a very special event. And again, there's no charge. There's no nothing. If you want to come, like I said, all you need, open mind, good attitude, and a 25 or 30 pound outfit. And away we go. Nice.
An hour of your time, the hour of power.
One more time, dates and time on that.
Saturday, August 31st, 6 to 7 p.m. at a location called Marathon Batting Cages, located in El Monte, California.
Cool. Well, speaking of Taddy, have you read the book yet?
I have not. I'm gonna be honest
Oh,
with you.
no.
I bought it at PCS. It's in the bookcase in the living room. The jig is actually that Lucky David jig is on it. I have not read it yet. All right, there you go. Yeah. I have not. But then again, you know, this is something that this is a little issue that I've had ever since I was a kid. I don't want things to end, and I'm gonna give you an example. Okay, a lot of times I don't watch the final episode of my favorite series because I don't want to let go. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that you know, I see Joey and I talk to him all the time, and so there's always little tidbits. I go to the factory where he's messing around with whatever he's got in the shop. I never ask for any. I never take anything. It's part of his family tradition, family history. But it's always interesting, you know, when we talk and he tells me the history about something and things like that. You know, I don't want to let it go. I don't want to spoil our visits with each other by reading the book and being able to call everything out now.
Yeah.
That's what a second book is for.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, he's already starting on it.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's why I keep seeing Scott's posts working on a second deal here. I know that, you know, the first one was for any, you know, surface iron enthusiast that wanted to understand, because it's called the history of Tatty, right? So anybody who's into that really enjoyed it. And maybe the second one is I don't know what other level he's going to go to, but it's probably going to be really good. Yeah, man,
it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Brian, you have a couple items there. I don't know if we've talked about it yet. So what did you bring?
You know, we're talking about the pulling, setting the drag. This is this was my 15 seconds of fame here. I put up this video on my Instagram, and when I put it up, it was about setting the drag with a scale. Now, again, this is not the end all be all. This doesn't mean anything other than to show the fluctuations that you have by pulling fast against the drag scale and pulling slow against it. And when I did that, I was so blessed to have, I don't know how many DMs I got, but I got them from captains in New Zealand, from captains in Florida, from Hawaii, saying, we did not know this, you know, and to actually see it occur. So I brought it here just in the event, just to show people. You ask, Chris, why do I do it, or what am I all about? It's these little things that mean a lot to some. And that's why I have, you know, I always bring with me my trusty scale just as proof to show people. But that's the reason why I had it in front of me. I figured I figured that question would come, like, what are you doing and what you're all about? These are the little things. I did a post about deburring crimps, right? And I was like, what in the world? If people are, I've been doing it. I would love to take credit for that idea. It actually came from Cal Sheets when he was in Pasadena, you know, and I started doing it. I posted, I never even thought of that before. I says, these are the little things that, you know,
the little things that pay off.
The little things that pay off. So that's really what we have here. And anybody, if you guys even wanted to see it yourselves, is why I brought it, just to show you the breadth of the heart of the cigar aficionado and what I do and why. Right. So that's it. Yeah.
Nice. But two more things before I let you go. What's your favorite stogie?
Well, that's a tough one. Yeah, I've smoked thousands of them, and I can't really say that I don't like any. But
just beware. You're talking to someone who's never smoked anything in his life. Nothing to do with cigars.
Okay, then I would probably say the Davidoff Winston Churchill.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's really, really good. But like I said, I hope my wife doesn't hear this, and she doesn't know. But like, I actually keep a count on I have an app on my cell phone that tells me what I have and how long it's been in there. I'm well over 2,000. Yeah, it is gnarly. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, when you
are they stored in the little?
Yeah, I have a little walk-in area down in my basement, and I have a combination of shelves as well as coolers. They make wonderful storage vessels for cigars. I'm not kidding you.
Nice.
Yeah, you can hold a lot, and nobody would know.
Oh man, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, back to fishing.
Yeah.
What is, obviously jigging has taken up quite a bit of bandwidth in the industry and all that, but from you on a personal level, your all-time favorite species, if you were to grab a boat or a skiff right now and jump on, where are you fishing? What are you fishing for?
I'm like on a 1 and 1A with yellows and calicos.
Okay.
That's it. Maybe more so even the calico world, because I love that you're doing something. There's no bait and weight with them. If you want to fish a plastic, you're casting, and your casting has to be Johnny on the spot with as far as accuracy is concerned. You want to fish a surface iron, they eat it. Maybe they care a little bit more about color, I think, than a yellow does. So you do have to get a little crafty as far as selection of the colors, but you're casting into them. You want to fish a bait, you got a fly line into kelp, and you got to be able to pull them out. So there's so much interaction that you have out on the water fishing for them that I absolutely love. And yellows, man, there's certain stuff. I love the surface iron fishing for them. I wouldn't say that I'm the world's greatest surface iron fisherman. I've caught my share, and I definitely, I understand the casting mechanics of it. I love fly lining for them is fun too. I love that. Yo-yo fishing is cool. But yeah, those are the two. You're doing something, right? And I like to say, you guys remember, that movie, Meet the Parents?
Yes.
That scene where he goes, so you're a dog person, huh? You need that kind of assurance, right? That's why I say yellows are like, is Robert, his description of a cat, right? They make you work for their affection, so that's, it's a lot of fun.
That's a good one. I'll have to steal that one.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do you prefer running and gunning, or sitting on the pick and just kind of sight fishing kind of?
Sitting on the pick and sight fishing more so. The run and gun, it gets a little hectic. And if that's the case, then you won't I'd probably be more inclined to fishing a bait where things are more calm. I know that's kind of weird. But the bum rush up on the bow, like on the Malihini, whenever there's a stop, it's like, even though it is probably the best bow to throw surface iron, when you have, a dozen people up there, it kind of starts to get a little tricky. But I like just that pick on them, being able to see something and making a good clean cast and getting the right retrieve that gets them to bite. I love that, and and then of course when you employ my fighting technique that I teach on the jigging rods, I said it goes into other things. So 11-foot, 12-foot rod, bring it on. I don't. I use the same method to bring them in.
So. I don't know. I like the chaos that comes with running and gunning. I don't know. I like it. It makes you. It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah.
There's a lot more pressure.
Yeah.
But I enjoy that.
Yeah.
I've taken a step back from the whole running and gunning thing. The last month and a half being able to fish without the pressure of, we gotta get limits.
Working?
Take away the working aspect of it and me just fishing just to fish. Like fishing the islands for yellow, especially the yellowtail that we had the last couple weeks. Man, that was so much fun. I don't remember having that much fun fishing the islands for that consistent of a grade for so long.
Yeah.
And
you got them good. I saw your post. So you got some yellows on your boat. It was your boat, right? Or a small private boat, sorry?
Yeah, it was a private boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it's all chaotic like that, it's cool. You get to go home and tell people you were part of something like that. But I'm with you. I'm these days. I've been, So that doesn't mean that I've been doing it longer than anybody else. But when I tell you I've been doing it for 30 plus years, and there's this fire that I have. I used to think that in order for me to have told people I had a great time or a great trip, my sack had to be filled. Now I don't want it anymore. Number one is, there's only me, my wife, and my son. We can't eat that much. And two, I'm be honest with you guys, I'm definitely afraid of the processing bill, anymore. Yeah. So that's why, thank goodness, I am the cigar aficionado. Because once I catch one, I go and smoke a cigar or smoke cigars the rest of the trip. But nice. I don't need a full sack of fish to tell people that I had a good time. I don't. In fact, I mean, if that's what one needs to consider it to be a good time, then go for it. But I'm just saying, for me personally, it is truly if I can trick one into biting, and I do everything right, and I hooked it, I landed it, it went on a boat. That I don't care how big it is. I was on a stop in 2022. I think it was. We had a tough bluefin trip. It was the last night we had 5 fish hooked. It always back to back to back to back to back. It was bing, 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 right?
Yeah.
So I was 1 and the other 4, right? Well, I did everyone a favor. And nobody has thanked me yet. I caught the 50-pounder. They went and got the 200s, right?
Oh,
I
thought you were going to say you brought the school to
no. I kept that 50-pounder off of their line, baby. I mean, I was the man, And I come back and somebody goes, "Oh, you only caught a 50-pounder?" And I said, "Man, I don't know. I had fun. I have no control over the size fish that bites. I have no control over that."
When you do, let me know.
Yeah, exactly. I'll let both of you guys. Maybe that'd be a hell of a podcast, huh? Yeah. Here's how you guys can make a big one bite instead of little ones, right?
Here's how you select the fish you want to catch.
Right. So I come back and I had guys. "Oh, you only got a 50-pounder," and I said, "I had fun. I got big." Yeah. It was 5 of us only after not seeing a single fish for 2.5 days. On the last night, I'd say I did pretty okay.
Quite frankly, I would prefer the 50-pounder over a 200-pounder.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah, but I get to do what's fun for me, just as all your listeners, just as anybody who goes on the boat. Here's my rule for me personally: so long as I'm not a liability to myself nor others, that's fine. Right? So if I want to throw something ridiculous out there all day long, as long as I'm not tangling anybody, I'm good. You can leave me alone.
Yeah.
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 So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Brian, this has been fun, man. Thank you so much for coming down.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And one more time, how do we get in contact with you with all of your seminars and workshops and all that good stuff? And one more time with the August event.
Yeah, so August event is August 31st, Saturday, August 31st from 6 to 7 p.m. in the city of El Monte at a place called Marathon Batting Cages. It's owned by my friends who just opened it up. They had your 1-year anniversary, but one of the things, they're letting us in there at no charge because they have the height and they have the length to do this. And the sole purpose of this is casting fundamentals of fly lining live baits. Okay. We will have snacks and beverages for everyone. Again, it is no charge, but that kicker there, just to handle the no-shows anyway. Okay. If you want in, you can Zelle or Venmo me $20, and we'll go through this when you contact me. And the best way to contact me, 2 ways. One is through my website at www.mhlis.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at The Cigar Aficionado, Afición, AFISHIN, aficionado.com, or The Cigar Aficionado, I'm sorry. And you can DM me on there. You can send me an email on my website if you want in. And you're in. There is no prerequisite or anything. I'd love it to be people who are, well, like I said, an open mind and a good attitude. If you want to learn, whether you're seasoned or not, if you think you can pick up on a new trick here or there. I was shocked. I did a fly lining workshop a couple months ago at the park by my house, and I had somebody, David Choate, the legendary long-range angler, shoot me a message and saying that if he can make it, he would. If he's going to try to see what his schedule looks like. I says, maybe you come and teach, But he said something. Somebody like him to say, hey, if there's one nugget of information I can pick up that can make a difference to me, I'm in. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's it right there. This is not. I don't go to seminars. I don't sign up and take the time to go to one so I can challenge the speaker. Right. I take the time, I sign up and I go because there just might be that one thing that pushes me over the edge. And for me personally, I never want to stop learning. What Frank said, another Frankism, When we figure out how to catch them all, we don't need to fish anymore, right? So, so that's on that event. And the contact again, mhlis.com, or you can get me on Instagram at The Cigar Aficionado.
And even if you're not going to go to the seminar, go give my friend Brian a follow. Super, super interesting stuff all the time.
Yeah, you'll see some stuff that you probably never even thought about. Some simple things down to the simplest things that might make a difference in how you approach things. So yeah.
Well, Brian, thank you again, man. This has been fun.
Oh, I had a blast. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
Tonie, another fantastic episode with a great guest.
Oh, wealth of information. Yeah, if you guys
Always
don't follow Brian already, do that right now. As soon as this podcast ends, give him a follow.
Just hit pause right now, go follow him, and come back.
If you're driving, don't do that.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. In fact, pull over at a rest stop and then do it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, guys, that's going to do it this week on the CCA California podcast. Good to be with you. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we will see you guys next week.